For a good couple of weeks now, people have been asking me to make a video on 5G. I had planned to release this at the end of the month, but given the current circumstances, I thought it was important that I was able to release it as soon as possible. This is the real truth about 5G. Hello all, and welcome along to another episode of Tinfoil Tuesday with me, Simon Dan. Thank you very much for joining me. Over the last 2 weeks, I have seen countless conspiracies regarding 5G, including in my own country, people burning down masts. Utter madness. Not least because some of those masts that are being burnt are actually 2G, 3G and 4G ones, so they're actually reducing normal coverage in their area. Well played. So rather than responding to a video like I do on my normal format, this one is going to be purely information, and one in which I hope you can share with as many people as possible. So I'm going to start by saying that 5G cannot spread viruses, and it cannot activate viruses. It isn't a weapon, and it certainly won't mess with your air supply. Right, now we've got that out of the way, let's go into a little bit more detail. 5G simply means the 5th generation of the mobile phone network, just like 4G was the 4th and 3G was the 3rd. It is not specifically one thing, it is a whole new range of designs and applications designed to deliver a brand new mobile phone network. So what's different about 5G? Well, there's a few things, but primarily what seems to be the problem with most conspiracy theorists is the fact that 5G will be using a higher frequency of wavelength than any mobile network before it. This is the electromagnetic spectrum. It shows us all of the wavelengths of light from radio waves on the left all the way to gamma rays on the right. The visible light that we see is a tiny little band in the middle of the spectrum and is contained within a certain wavelength. Each colour is represented by a certain wavelength also. To give you an example of how this works, think of plants and photosynthesis. Now, plants prefer a certain wavelength of light when they carry out photosynthesis, and it just so happens the wavelengths of light that they like represent red and blue colours. So that means they use these wavelengths of red and blue colours to carry out photosynthesis, and they're not keen on the green and yellow light. So light with that wavelength is reflected by the plant, and hence we see the plants as green. Another important thing to note regarding this spectrum is that as the wavelength shortens, the frequency gets larger. The frequency, by the way, is simply how many wavelengths pass a certain point in 1 second, and this is measured in hertz. Now, when we look at things like mobile phone networks, we need to take a look at the radio wave frequencies all the way over here on the left of the spectrum. The current 4G network here in the UK uses frequencies up to 3 GHz, which is right at the high frequency radio wave microwave border. Now, moving to a frequency band that is higher is done for a couple of reasons. Firstly, the current frequency bands in use are getting full. 3G, 4G, GPS, satellite radio, satellite TV, etc., all of them taking up space. Secondly, the higher frequencies allow a much greater amount of data transfer, which is key if you want to make a faster mobile phone network. Different mobile phone networks will be using different frequencies, so the whole 5G network will be using frequencies up to 300 GHz. Now that sounds really high, but we're still within that little microwave section of the electromagnetic spectrum. At this point, you might be thinking about your microwave oven at home, and your immediate worry would be getting cooked. Well, the difference is your microwave oven at home has more power, often delivering the microwave with around 800 watts of power. The microwaves used in the mobile phone networks for 5G will not get higher than about 2 watts in terms of power, so you will not be getting cooked. And to back that up, one of my subscribers is an engineer that fits 5G. Now, he contacted me and explained they have a piece of equipment called a NADA alert, which alarms him when any radiation gets over 200% normal safety range. When working on the cells, he has never once had an alarm. Even when working next to a live antenna, the power is simply too low. So what is dangerous about the frequencies that the 5G network will be using? Well, to be honest, not a great deal. Let's go back to our electromagnetic spectrum for a minute. If you've been unlucky enough to break a bone and have needed an X-ray, you'll have experienced light waves that can fully penetrate your body. That's because the waves used for X-rays are so small, with a wavelength of 0.1 nanometers. A nanometer, by the way, is 1/1000th of a meter. X-rays and gamma rays are the only light waves in the electromagnetic spectrum that can fully penetrate your body. Microwaves are absorbed by the first centimetre of your skin, but because of the extreme low power of the mobile phone networks, then no damage occurs. We can also consider the fact that microwaves and radio waves are a form of non-ionising radiation. This means that they don't mess with the electrons of atoms like gamma rays do. Now, all of this means that any mobile phone network will not, under any circumstances, damage your cells. Now, you may have seen something that said that 5G is carcinogenic or cancer-causing. Well, the truth of the matter is that the World Health Organization has listed all mobile phone network frequencies, not just 5G, as possibly carcinogenic to humans. You know what else is in that bracket? Instant coffee. And the consumption of red meat is an even higher one. Yet the videos stopping you from drinking instant coffee and eating red meat don't seem to be as common. I wonder why. This, by the way, is a graph that shows cancer mortality, total cancer incidence and total brain cancer incidence compared to mobile phone subscriptions in the US. I'll let that one sink in for a moment. If the issue then for people is the increase in frequency used with 5G, then you can show people that there really isn't an issue. Besides, your TV remote control and the light you see with your eyes both have higher frequencies than mobile phone network frequencies. I don't see any videos banning TV remotes or seeing. I mean, we regularly expose ourselves to radiation in the 400 to 700 terahertz range at powers 5 to 50 times that of any mobile phone network, otherwise known as light bulbs. Another issue you might hear is an increase in masts or repeaters for 5G in the local area near you, which could mean an increase in radiation. The thing is, if you're going to use higher frequencies that have shorter wavelengths, then you're going to lose some range. Because the waves can't travel through or around things like trees and buildings, these additional masts are required to transmit signals around obstacles. There is no increased risk of radiation. I've heard another argument about oxygen molecules, and that some certain frequency means that oxygen absorbs all the radiation. It means it can no longer be breathed, or it can't bond with hemoglobin or some other rubbish like that. Whilst it is true that oxygen molecules become highly absorbent of electromagnetic energy at the 60 GHz frequency, this doesn't really mean much. First off, this is a problem for the phone networks because it weakens the signal. It's not a problem for the oxygen. Secondly, this will only happen at the 60 GHz frequency, no other frequencies in 5G, so to say it is all of 5G is a lie. The oxygen doesn't lose electrons, it doesn't have problems bonding with hemoglobin, and 5G doesn't suck oxygen from your lungs. Yes, I've heard that one. In short, there is no evidence whatsoever that 5G affects your air supply. Which brings me nicely on to COVID-19. Now, there's been several videos and several conspiracies that links 5G radiation with the COVID-19 global pandemic. Now, the whole global pandemic thing is for another video, but I will address the link between 5G and coronavirus. There is none. So what if Wuhan and Milan had 5G networks? Correlation doesn't equal causation. France doesn't have 5G, yet it ranks 4th in the world for deaths and cases. In fact, there are more countries in the world that don't have 5G with cases than there are that do. Besides, the electromagnetic waves that mobile phone networks are using do not penetrate our bodies. They are just waves that carry information. They do not affect, manipulate or alter our cells. Anyone that propagates any theory about 5G that is unsubstantiated or unproven is more dangerous than any mobile phone network will ever be. So if you see a video that is spreading these silly conspiracy theories about 5G, report it immediately. I will link some channels in the description that I know for a fact talk about these conspiracies. Check them out and then do what you want. This, unfortunately, is one of the more dangerous conspiracy theories, and we need to stop it now. We can't have people setting fire to equipment like this, an act which endangers life for anyone around it. Thank you all very much for watching today. It is a more serious one, and I'd appreciate it if you could share this as much as you possibly can. I've been Simon Dan. Have a great day, and I'll see you all tomorrow for episode 3 of the Simon Dan Show. See you then.